Hello friends, this is Professor Venkat Iyer from WeSchool, Bombay. I'm a visiting faculty with the distance learning program hybrid course, and my background is I'm a mechanical engineer with 17 years experience, and presently I'm a behavioral trainer, a trainer in the area of neuro-linguistic programming, master trainer, and plus I'm a corporate leadership trainer. Today I'm bringing across to you a very interesting topic called connecting the dots. That's right, connecting the dots. Some of you must have heard this term in some context or the other. We have the celebrated Steve Jobs who spoke about connecting the dots in his Stanford speech. We also have a book written by Rashmi Bansal on connecting the dots. Now I'm going to take off from what connecting the dots actually means for us. Right? Now, as a title indicates, there are certain dots. Imagine a sheet of paper in which there are certain dots, and these dots are of different colors. Like how we create an image by connecting the dots through lines and through zigzag curves. Now, what are these dots I'm talking about? These dots are nothing but they are certain events of your life. So, if you take your life on a timeline of past, present and the future. If you take your life on a timeline of past, present and future, I'm sure you'll agree that there have been a number of incidents in the past. Some of them have been highly resourceful, things which you feel like remembering, the great events as you call them, and there are yet others which you would rather forget. Now, these dots are an integral part of your life. So what? That's the next question. What are we trying to attempt in this module? We are trying to attempt to tell each of us that every incident of our life, which is a dot, every incident of our life, which is a dot, has got a meaningfulness in our life. Our life comprises a journey of various types of experiences. Some of these experiences, we on our own language them as not so resourceful. There are yet others which we language as resourceful. I'm using the term that we language. What do I mean by this? I mean that an incident or an event takes place in your life. How do you look at it? Sometimes you say, that was not a good event. I wish to forget about it. And other times you say, well, that's one moment I would like to cherish, the golden moment of my life. Now, what does this do to you? It sort of quarantines you to forget, and in extreme cases, even not like or hate things that have not happened properly in your life. My invitation to all of you is to relook into what went wrong, the incidents that did not take place properly the way you wanted it, and when you pause and when you go through a certain process of introspection and also some sort of a coaching, you would realize that that very incident or those very incidents, they mattered a lot. But for those incidents, but for what happened at that point of time, you would not be what you are today. Right? So, your total personality, your total development is an admixture of the resourceful events, the resourceful dots, and the not so resourceful dots. So, one connects these dots. So, when I connect, what do? I am correlating the good and the not so good. I am relating the happy and the not so happy events of your life. This is not intellectual, this is more experiential. So, in and through a type of a coaching, a training that happens in a group, one learns how to connect the dots. So, when you connect the dots, you do it as a group activity. In a chart paper, you plot your dots and you write down whatever you remember about what happened during that part of your life. And then these sheets of paper are exchanged. And then what is a dot which is not resourceful for me when somebody else sees, he or she feels it was not after all so bad. All of you will agree that your problem is your problem because you think it's your problem. Talk about your problem to someone else and he or she, since they are dissociated from you emotionally, they can see your problem crystal clear. That's why many a time we are not able to solve our own issues. That's why many a time we are stuck up with our own negative experiences. These negative experiences, what do they do to me? They limit me from living my life full. They also block me from thinking creatively about future events. These events are stored in my memory as something which I do not want. And when I say I do not want something, all of you will agree that very thing comes back to you and starts haunting you. So my invitation to you is reconnect to all your dots of your past. Many things have happened which has made you who you are. So when you see this happening about others, when others see your own dots, they have a different perspective about what you do and what you don't do. Now this perspective is something that comes new to you. When you are in a good mood, you are able to see certain things more clearly. But when you aren't in a good mood, then you see things totally different. So when my dots are seen by you, you language them differently. An event or an incident I'm narrating in front of a group and the group sees it differently. Now through this cross discussions, cross learning, each of us gets in touch with what is the significance of the various dots in my life. Now that's very interesting, because when I connect my dots of my past, I get a map, I get a web of interconnected events and dots which actually help me to go ahead with a lot of energy. The dilution that takes place, whatever happens in many instances about our lives, is largely because of the negative experiences which we harbor. Is it possible for us to convert the perception of the negative into something different? I repeat, the perception of the negative into something different. Here I am talking about at an emotional plane. And all of you will agree that it is an emotional context in which you hold your past incidents, past events that actually affect you in whatever you do in the present and the future. So in connecting the dots, we map the past, take those significant incidents, plus and minus, and we try to connect them. We also take the present, wherein number of incidents are happening, yet to materialize into fulfillment, and we try to connect them. Thereby, we create within ourselves what is called as a resourceful state. Now, when I say resourceful, I'm talking about something which is not taking you overboard into too much of joy, not taking you too behind into too much of sorrow, but it keeps you in a state in which you can be proactive. So when we talk about connecting the dots, we are actually wanting each of us to become more and more proactive. It's a habit that each of us can develop, learning to be proactive. Let me give an example. This shooting that's going on right now, I had a very busy morning today. There were a number of dots which were very varied. One dot which started very early in the morning. It lasted for about 20-30 minutes, and immediately after that I had to switch over to another event or another dot which was more pleasurable. It lasted for about a couple of hours, and then I had to come to another dot which is totally different. Now each of the events I could hold in me in a certain emotional context. It creates an impact, and the impact will involve the degree of involvement that I am into in an activity. I'm sure this is something all of us experience. Let me repeat. Every event is a dot. Every incident is a dot. Every event that happens in my life, I hold it in an emotional plane. Which means some events I cherish and some events I would rather not even think about it. Now this emotional swing that happens when we recall incidents of the past, when we are living the incidents of today, and when we propose to have incidents of the future, all the three timelines, is something which needs to be addressed. And how do we address it? By putting ourselves into a middle stage of mental resourcefulness. This mental resourcefulness is a must. It actually helps us to be proactive when incidents play their activity into our lives. Now my invitation to all of us is learn to language, learn to reword incidents, events, certain experiences you've gone through with a languaging which actually makes you proactive. I wouldn't like to say use positive language as most people would say. It's not about positive language. It's not about negative either. It's about putting yourself in a language which is action oriented. I repeat, when I say resource state, I'm talking about action oriented languaging. Let's face it, is life a flow or not? Life is a flow, life is a river. So I'm living life. My past has brought me to the present at this moment when I'm talking to you, and this present is going to take me further into the river of life in the future, tomorrow, day after, and the time to come. Now if you visualize your life as a river in the midstream of which you're flowing or you're floating, and you want to go ahead. So when you want to go ahead, all of you will agree that you have to go with the flow of the tide. Now by this, I don't suggest that if there's a torrent, you get drowned by the torrent, certainly not. Here I am talking about how to handle it. Imagine you're floating in a river, the river has got a gush, and suddenly you realize a little further the river is going down into a fall, a waterfall, a steep waterfall perhaps. What would you do? The very moment I speak about this, there are various thoughts that come to your mind. Very few of you would really look at it as a being state. I am introducing a word called being state. When I say being means I'm there and I know how to handle it. Those of you who are into adventure sports, those of you who have gone for adventure training, I'm sure you'll agree that you've gone through that state at some point of time or the other, wherein you just float, you're with the flow. Now to be with the flow means good things happen, I can take it, and not so good things happen, even then I can take it. I have the energy to go ahead and take myself ahead. Now that is what I'm suggesting in this module, connecting the dots. Connecting the dots is all about putting yourself in a resourceful state through certain systematic introspection, coaching, group activities, and in and through these events, in and through these actions, you start cultivating within you a type of a mental climate which sustains with you to take on the challenges of life. Now this is something which is very, very resourceful, very, very useful for all of us, because we are all living a life in which stress is prone to attack us. And the biggest stress which all of us face today is emotional stress, which we can try and understand through this process. So, if I am tuning myself to plotting all my dots of my life, I call them in two categories, red dots and green dots. Red dots are the ones which I think are not so good of my life, and green dots are the ones on which I feel vibrant and nice. Now can I take the red and the green dots and start connecting them? By connecting, what am I doing? I am telling myself the red dots have a meaning because of which the green has taken place. The green has a meaning and it takes me to red again. It educates me what to do and what not to do. It tells me how to be proactive to a situation. It tells me how to handle emergencies and many, many such things. And all this is happening in a plane in which I am not emotionally taken up to a euphoric state, nor am I taken down to the dumps. Now this is a state which is required today for most of us, especially people in industry who are handling a lot of pressures and stresses, and that too at strategic positions. So my invitation to you all again is learn to plot yourself. Plot your dots and connect them. And when you connect the dots, you'll find that lots of lovely things are happening to you. Of course, this is a very detailed coaching. This requires certain amount of commitment, of going through certain steps and processes, and you need to be guided into it. I'm throwing open this idea to you, I'm throwing open this picture to you so that you are able to understand, and you can always get back to us, and we are there to get the best for you. Thank you. So Pranali Sawant, good evening Pranali. Hello sir. How do we manage pressures and stresses whilst connecting the dot? Now Pranali, this is a very good question. I would like you to go through this particular coaching so the coaching becomes useful. Now this requires a lot of detailing. It's more of an experience you need to go through. Because when you go through the experience, you'll realize that it's more of an activity. Any amount of me explaining you to right now might not suffice the purpose. So go through the training, you'll realize how that emotional ups and downs you can handle it through certain techniques and processes. Okay, Pranali, I think that should be okay for you right now. Let's take the next question. Bhavna Kamble said thanks. Welcome Bhavna. And someone else would like to come in. You can ask your questions, friends. So friends, you can post your questions after the session is over, and we are all glad to help you out in this. So welcome to the Welingkar experience.
Thank you, Professor Venkat Iyer. I think the session was indeed very insightful. Well friends, if you wish to enroll for the PGDM-Hybrid program, please do call on 4051 for admission related queries. Thank you and have a great learning experience.